Welcome back with the next chapter 12 Reproduction in Plants. All living organisms grow old and die due to old age. This is why reproduction plays a vital role in survival of species and the continuation of life on Earth. So reproduction is the most important characteristic of all living organisms. Through this process an individual produces a new individual of its own kind. Plants are as significant as any other living organism. They germinate, grow, develop, and reproduce. Plants play a vital role in sustaining the environment in which they live. Reproduction in plants and modes of reproduction. Plants continue to live on the earth by producing new offspring. This process is called reproduction, which can be sexual or asexual. Sexual reproduction involves the union of two sex cells, an egg cell and a sperm, to produce a cell that is genetically different than the parent cell. Asexual reproduction occurs when a single cell divides to form two daughter cells that are genetically identical to the parent cell. Sexual reproduction is the formation of offspring by the fusion of gametes, while asexual reproduction is the formation of offspring without the fusion of gametes. In higher plants, offsprings are packed in their protective seeds. In flowering plants or angiosperm, the seed itself is contained inside a fruit. Next is the modes of reproduction. Modes of reproduction determines the genetic constitution of the plant. It is the process by which living beings propagate or duplicate their own kind. Mostly new plants are formed by the germination of seeds, but in some cases plants can be reproduced by their vegetative parts like leaves, stem, roots, etc. There are several ways by which plants produce their offspring, such as budding, spore formation, vegetative propagation, pollination, etc. The mode of reproduction in plants are broadly grouped into asexual and sexual. Some organisms reproduce by only one type of reproduction and some can be reproduced by both. The mode of reproduction is categorized as asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction in plants is also called vegetative reproduction. It usually involves only the plant vegetative structures like roots, stems, and leaves. For example, raspberries can produce a new generation using their stems, potato using their roots, and geranium can be grown from any piece of that parent plant. Asexual reproduction is the process by which an organism creates genetically similar or identical copies of itself. In asexual reproduction, there is no fusion of gametes and the new organism produces inherited genes and all of its chromosomes from one parent. That is, the number of chromosomes never changes. The organisms that show asexual reproduction are yeast, mushroom, algae, and plants. Other ways of asexual reproduction include fragmentation, spore formation that involves only mitosis. First one, budding. Budding, in which a small bulb-like cellular outgrowth called bud is formed on parent cells that develops into an independent organism. Second one, fragmentation. The adult organism breaks up into two or more pieces called fragments, which grows to become a new plant. And the next is spore formation. Parent plants produce a microscopic single or multi-cell spherical bodies which germinate into new plants during favorable conditions. Vegetative reproduction. When a new plants are produced from the vegetative parts of the mother plant, such as roots, stem, or leaves, without help of any reproductive organs, then it is known as vegetative reproduction. All the plants that are produced by vegetative propagation from one plant and exact copies, that is clones of the parent plant. The plants like ginger, rose, potato, etc. reproduce by vegetative parts like stem, root, leaf, etc. Vegetative method is commonly used in agriculture and horticulture for the production of vegetable and fruit. There are two ways of vegetative propagation. First one, natural method, and the second one, artificial method. Natural vegetative propagation. Plants multiply naturally through roots, stems, and leaves. Let us know how these vegetative parts of plants help in their multiplication. First one, roots. Roots help in vegetative propagation in addition to their normal functions. For example, the roots of sweet potato, carrot, turnip, bud, and radish multiply through their fleshy roots and give rise to new plants. Their roots have buds, and when these buds bearing roots are planted in the soil, new plants are produced. Second type is stems. Some stems grows underground and stored for in them. These modified stems like tuber, bud, rhizome, and corn help in the multiplication of plants. Here are some examples like runners, oxalis and grass, chrysanthemum and mint, and vallisneria. Second one, underground stems like rhizomes, bulbs, tubers, cones, etc. Underground stems. Underground stems are modification of plants that derive from stem tissue but exist under the soil surface. They function as storage tissue for food and nutrients and propagation of new clones. Different forms of underground stems include rhizome, tuber, bulb, corm, etc. First, rhizome. Rhizomes are underground stems that grow near the soil surface and store food. They have typically short internodes and scale leaves and produce a root along their lower surface. If a rhizome is separated into pieces, each piece may be able to give rise to a new plant. Axillary buds are also present in the nodes. When the conditions are favorable, the buds grow into aerial shoots to form a new plant. For example, Irish, ginger, canna, etc. Second is the bulb. Bulbs are very short stems surrounded by a fleshy leaves that store nutrients. A bulb consists of a stem from which modified fleshy leaves develop. Onion is an example of layered bulb since it is composed of a series of fleshy scale or leaves. Tuber. Potato is an underground stem tuber that is a swollen due to food stored in it. It has a bud in that depression called the eyes. This bud gives rise to a new plant. Next, the corn is a relatively solid modified stem that has a few fleshy leaves. The nodes is the point where the leaf attaches to the stem. The presence of nodes and internodes makes the corn to be modified stem. For example, Amorphous, Crocus, and Gladiolus. Leaves. In case of plants like Bryophyllum, small buds arise along the margin of the leaf, which later give rise to a new plant. When the new plants grow up, the old leaves fall off. Stem cutting, as in case of rose and sugarcane, also a common method of vegetative propagation. In this method, a part of stem is cut and planted, but arise from the nodes of this stem cutting and give rise to a new plant.